Hey everyone, it's TK Friday, and boy do I have a show for you today. This one is called Working with Selections. We're using the TK8 plugin for Photoshop. You're going to want to watch this one the whole way through. You're going to learn a lot of new stuff today. Stay tuned. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. Yeah, it's TK Friday. I'm really excited about this episode. A lot of new revelations came to me when I started putting this episode together. And it's all about selections, but we're going to be working with masking and color masks, zone masks, luminosity masks, and we're going to be working with a mask calculator. We're starting out simple. I'll be working on 2 images today. I'm going to provide download links in the description below this video. I highly encourage that you download them and work along with me, because when you do these techniques yourself, it really cements what you're learning, and that's a very powerful way of learning. If you don't yet have the TK8 plugin for Photoshop and you want to get it, or if you don't have any training videos from Sean Bagshaw, I'll leave you Tony's link in the description below this video. It'll take you right there. And use my promo code DK15. You'll save 15% off of anything on Tony's web store. And now to the first image, the flamingo. All I want to do in this image is darken the water in the background a little bit, but I really want to bring out these ripples. I think it'll really enhance this image if I bring these ripples out. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. I originally was doing it a different way, and I'll show you the result I got on this image right here. I used the subject selection tool, and that's Photoshop subject selection tool, and it did a really good job. I had to go to S&M, select and mask the subject and do some painting around it. You know, it took a little bit of work, and then I had to intersect it with a mask, and I got these results. But you'll notice I have these little white lines in here, and that was bugging me. And I came up with a way to get rid of those lines. But then when I went to make this video this morning, a thought hit me. I had an epiphany, and I thought, I think I know a better way of doing this, and I'm going to show that to you now. So I'm kind of excited about this. Let's start from scratch. Let's get this image, grab a color mask tool, because you know, in this particular image, now all images are different and they all require different techniques, but this image has a defined blue water and a defined flamingo color with a lot of black in here. So I think I can get a really good selection with a color mask, and that's my reason for using a color mask. So let's try it. Click on the color mask and let's select some blue back here and click OK. And then what we want to do at that point is we want to refine this mask. Let's take this slider and drag it. Let's drag it the whole way over to the right like this. Just like that. That's all we want to do. But the next thing I want to do is I'm trying to select the water. And I'm not even going to have to invert the flamingo. When I selected the subject, I had to actually invert the subject. Okay, this time I don't have to because I want to select the water. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take this levels adjustment here and keep moving it to the left until that background turns a solid white color, and that'll select the water perfectly. Like a perfect selection right there. Isn't that really cool? And the next step is, let's click Save. We don't have to do this, but it's not a bad idea to save this. You went through all this work to make this selection, so let's go ahead and save it as a channel by clicking right here. And let's give it a name. Let's just call it water, because in reality, we are selecting the water because it is in white. Okay. We could also invert it and save out the flamingo if we wanted to as well. But that's just an extra tip. I don't think I'll be using that, but you can do that. And then after we do that, we want to load this as a selection. So let's click this icon right here. That loads it as a selection. And next we want to go to My Channels, click on My Channels. And what we're going to do is click Active Selection, right? Because that selection is still active, so click that. And there's our selection, right? And now we're going to grab the mask calculator. Our trusty mask calculator. This is a wonderful tool in the TK8 plugin for Photoshop. I love it. We're going to intersect it. Okay, so click on intersect. Now let's X out of here. And now I'm going to use another one of my favorite masking tools, and that's the zone mask. So click on the zone mask. I want to bring out these ripples in the water, right? So let's pick some of these ripples, like this darker color right here. Click this and click OK. Now it's selected those ripples. Now what I want to do is make that selection lighter by dragging the slider to the right. I'm not going to go quite the whole way, but then I'm going to narrow that selection in a little bit. So we really define those ripples. You see that? Maybe not quite as much, maybe right around there. So these ripples will get more of the adjustment. Okay? And after I do that, we got to click equals, and that will make our mask. Now you'll notice how nicely defined this mask is. I don't have those weird white edges around the edge here. I have a little bit of white around here from the intersection, but believe me, I made tests earlier and that does not affect this image at all. But if it would have, I have a way around it. I can correct it, but I'm not going to show you that now because we really don't need to do that. I'll save that when that issue comes up in another video. We've created our mask. Now all we need to do is output it. So what do you think I would output it to? If you're thinking my favorite tool, like Dave, you use this constantly, and I do, the color grading tool. So I'm going to click the color grading tool. We'll output it to a color grading tool, and check this out. All I need to do at this point is click on this midtones gray block right here and take this slider, luminosity slider, and drag it to the left. And look, I darken my water, I darken my ripples. Look, here's the before and here's the after. See how the ripples really pop? And it does a beautiful job all around the bird. Now the bird just pops off the page, or the print, I should say, or the image, okay? Here's the before and here's the after. Just that simple. So that was a selection without using any selection tools. That was a selection by using a color mask. We're off to a good start. Let's move on to our next image. Here's the next image. It's a little more demanding. What I want to do, I'm going to start out, and this dark sand in the front is really cool. I like the contrast here. I want to give it a bit of a blue tint and lighten it up because I think the blue will play nicely with these brown, orangish tones. And I'm going to do something with these tones as well. And then I'm going to bring some clarity out in the mountain, work on the sky a little bit, and maybe darken down the water. But I'll take it one step at a time. Are you ready? Let's get started on this. I'll start by lightening up this foreground sand, give it a slight blue tint to play off of these grasses here. I think that's going to look nice in terms of a color grade. And originally I started out with the object selection tool, and I thought, well, I'm going to get close to the top of these little mounds and come down here. That'll select that really well, you know, and then I'm going to have to hold my shift key down and add to the selection over here. And I didn't get a real good selection here, so then I went and used the quick selection tool and tried to get this edge over here. But, you know, it was a lot of playing around, and then I had to go into select and mask and do all kind of things in there. But I found a quick, simple, easy way by using a Marquee tool and the TK8 plugin for Photoshop. Let me show you how I did it. Let me grab the Marquee Selection tool. It's right here on my panel, so I'm going to click that. Now, you can see that this lake is separating this mountain and sky from this lower area. So I thought maybe the Marquee tool will get this for me. Now, I still have a selection here from the object selection tool. So what I'm going to do is, it'll go away when I start to add the Marquee Selection. So I'm just going to add a marquee right along here like this. Just like that, it makes a selection. That's step number one. Now we have an active selection. So let's come up to My Channels, and we can load that active selection right here. I like to think of the My Channels button as a gateway to getting to other areas of the TK8 panel, but there's our selection. Now what I want to do with that selection is I'm going to, and follow me closely here, I'm going to intersect it by clicking on the mask calculator and clicking on the X here. X out of this, and now what I'll do is I'm going to use a zone mask here. And the reason I'm using a zone mask, because if you notice here, I have a lot of dark sand. It's almost black. It has a bit of a yellow cast to it, but it's pretty much black. So what I'm going to do is grab this zone mask, and I'm going to pick some of these darker tones in here, like right here, and click OK. And look how that really selects that sand really well, right? Now I can refine that by taking this adjustment right here and sliding this to the left. And you notice those grasses are being protected. It's knocked out my lake back here. All the dark areas are selected, which I want selected. Don't worry about the mountain and sky, because remember, I'm making a calculation. So let's go ahead and lighten that up a little bit. I don't want to lighten it the whole way up, but maybe somewhere around here is pretty good. But you notice my grasses are protected. I may just pull this in just a little bit more. Right there, I think is good. Let's click equals and look at my mask. It's protecting my grasses. It's working on my sand. All I need to do at this point is click on this color grading tool. You knew I was going to do that, didn't you? Color grading tool, we'll output it to a color grading tool. And now let's lighten up the sand. Through experimentation, I found out by clicking on the black swatch and dragging this black square into blues. See how I put a little blue tint on that sand, which is exactly what I want. I'll make it a little stronger so you can really see it. Okay. That's probably a little too much, but I just want you to really see it there. And now all I need to do is drag this slider, luminance slider, to the right a little bit, and I just want to lighten it up a little bit. And now let's take a look. Here is the before, and here's the after. But it beautifully gets all that dark sand. Isn't that cool? Now I'm going to show you a way that we can maybe darken these grasses up a little bit, just to add a little more contrast here. Check this out. This is fun. I'm going to use this marquee tool again to select these grasses, and I'm finding it's a very powerful tool when you just want to select a certain area of your image and then let the power of the TK8 panel do the work for you. So let's check this out. I'm going to select this grass area here, right like this, down to here. I don't have to get everything, just where the grass is, okay? And then what I want to do is come up to, let's X out this color grading tool, come up to my channels. We have an active selection, so let's click on active selection. Now I want to intersect this, okay? So I'm going to click on the mask calculator, and you'll see where I'm going here. Click the X out of this, and now I used the zone mask to get the sand here, but now I have some clearly defined color here, these orangish brown tones, right? So what I'm going to do is use what do you think? Color mask? Yeah, you're right. Color mask. And let's find some of those tones, like right in here. Click OK. And see how nicely that selects that? Really well. And then all I have to do is click equals at this point. And check it out. Now, it's got some of the water back here, but not a big deal. Look, I can grab this black brush, and I can just paint this out. There's a little bit of water in here, but it does not affect it, and so I'm just going to leave that just the way it is. All right, now all I need to do is grab a color grading tool, so I'm going to click this right here. And now I have that color grading tool with that mask, and if you want to see what that mask looks like, click this icon right here. There's my mask, beautifully targeting the grass. Isn't that cool? And now what I want to do is color grade that grass. So I'm going to click on the midtone block here, and I generally find the midtone works well. And what I'll do is I'm going to warm that grass up by dragging this up into the warm tones. And see how it's just targeting that grass? And I might just darken it up a little bit, just like that, just to add a little extra contrast. Now here's the before, and here's the after. So again, the before and the after. And I'll make it a little darker so you can really see it. You see it there? But I don't want it quite that dark. But again, here's the before and here's the after. But that was simple, easy, and effective. Let's move on. The next thing I want to do is add some clarity to this mountain here. So the first thing I'm going to do is get a clarity action. Come to the TK actions on the CX panel or the combo panel, whichever you're using. Come to clarity, and let's set up an amount of clarity we want. I ended up with somewhere around like 16 to 20 pixels. Let's say 19, okay? And click OK. So you can see here's the before and here's the after. Now it's adding clarity everywhere, but I only want it on the mountain. So let's see how we can take care of that. I'm going to use the same marquee tool. And this time, again, remember, we're split right across here, right? So what I want to do is drag a marquee right like this the whole way up like that. Now, you might say, Dave, you just want the mountain. Well, let me show you how I tackle that. We'll start by Xing out of the color grading tool. And what we want to do now is go to My Channels. Now, remember, we have an active selection, so click on Active Selection. And then what you want to do is go to the calculator. It's so simple. The more you watch these videos and the more you try this stuff out yourself, the more easy it's going to become to you, okay? We're going to, this time, subtract. We were using intersect, but now we're going to subtract. We're going to subtract the sky from that mountain. So let's click the negative here, and let's X out of this. And what we want to do is, this time we need to select the sky. I don't have a sky saved down in my channels, but this is really cool. And this is something Tony showed me, and I love this technique. We can come right here and select the sky. Click this, and you notice that sky will become selected. And so once that sky is selected, we come back to my channels, and we want to load that as an active selection. And now we're going to click equals. And now you'll notice we have that mountain selected. Pretty cool, right? Now you can see it missed the little area around the edges here. We could clean that up, and over on this lower mountain over here, we could fix that, and I'll show you how we can do that next. Now follow these next steps very closely. Load this as a selection. Click this icon right here. And once you do that, you want to come here and edit that selection. So click this icon. Now we're going to edit the selection. We're going to use the dodging, and burning tools to do that. Let's start out with the dodge tool. So let's click on the dodge tool. And all I'm going to do is paint on these white areas here, and it'll fill in any areas that were missed, okay, with the dodge tool. I love the fact that Tony has these tools in here, right? It's really nice. So we can get on the interior here. Now, it doesn't have to be 100% perfect here, okay, but something like that. Now, we can burn out here, so let's click on the burn tool. And now we're burning, so we can come out here and we can start to burn those areas and clean up that area. I don't really think you would actually even have to do this, but I'm just showing you that you can, because some of you guys want to do it, you know. And let's go back and grab the dodge tool again, and let's just work on this just a little bit more. Okay. And I think we're good enough. We're good to go. Now, don't miss this next step. We need to load this as a selection. So you see this icon right here, click it. You can also save this out if you want to, and it's not a bad idea to do it. I'm not going to do it now. I'm just going to click this to load it as a selection. Now, the marching ants are disappeared right now, but the selection is still there, and you can see by the selection indicator up here. And now what we need to do is follow me closely here, and this is something Tony taught me as well. We can apply that selection right to this clarity mask by clicking this icon right here. Click it, and there it is. And now check this out. Here's the before, and now here is the after. Let me go ahead and zoom in. I'm going to click this plus a couple times and really zoom in so you can see. So here's the before, and just check the mountain out, the before and the after. Pretty nice. Just a couple more things to do. I want to darken the sky up a little bit and darken the water down a little bit. This is a lot of fun. I hope you're learning and you're sticking with me. And isn't this a lot of fun? Next, I want to darken the sky, and I just want to work with the midtones. So let's come over here to the CX panel or the combo, and let's select sky by clicking right here. It will select that sky. Now we'll come up to my channels and load that up as an active selection. Now I just want midtones, right? So what I'm going to do is grab our trusty mask calculator. We're going to intersect, so type or click the X out of here. This time we're going to use luminosity mask, so click on this icon right here. I'm going to use midtones 2. That's going to target the area I want, and I'm going to click equals, and there's my sky. Just that simple. Now it bleeds down into this mountain a little bit, but that's good. I want that. That's going to be fine. So now all we need to do is output this to a color grading tool, so let's click right here. I'm going to go ahead and click on the midtone, so click this block right here. And what I want to do is just darken down the midtones a little bit. So take the luminosity slider, slide it to the left. Let's just darken it up just a little wee bit. And I want to add some more magenta to the sky. So let's click this block and drag it into magenta. I'll over-exaggerate a little bit so you can really see it. But adding some magenta into the sky. So here is the before, and here's the after. So again, the before and the after. Just that easy. Now that I've darkened the sky down, I think this water area is a little too light. So what I'm going to do is get the object selection tool and use its artificial intelligence to select this lake just like so. See what kind of a job it does. Yeah, and I think that's good and good enough. Now all we need to do, let's X out of the color grading tool. Let's go right up here and edit this. Okay, I'm going to click right here. And all I want to do here is add a little bit of blur around the edge here. So I'm going to click on this little water drop here. This will open up the Gaussian blur dialog, and 10 pixels of blur is good. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to output that to a selection right here. And then all I have to do is come here and click on the color grading tool. Now watch this very closely. Click on the color grading tool, but you must click the plus here. Very important. If you don't, it will not put the color grading tool down. So watch when I click the plus. Now you'll see the color grading tool with my selection. Now if I click right here, you can see there's my selection. All I'm going to do is on the midtones, or no, is on the highlights, because there's a lot of highlights in here. So I'm going to click the highlight block and just start to drag this to the left a little bit. See that? And it's just going to darken that water down a little bit. Take the edge off those really light areas of water. Here is the before, and here's the after. Just that simple. We started out looking like this, and now we look like this. But this was all about selection today. You may want to go back and watch this again, but I think you learned a lot. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. I really like to hear from you. Give me your feedback. Well, there it is. Hey, if you enjoyed this tutorial today, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe. Click that bell notification icon. Then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll be notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. I'll see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing.